Waiting for all the cameras to warm up here, so hang on, folks. All right, there we go. Welcome. Glad you could be here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're first time joining us, I'm glad you're here. What we do on this show is we teach you things to help you naturally get well and stay well. I want you to take control of your own health because healthcare costs are rising. Insurance companies, just when you think they can't get worse, they do. We just got a message from another insurance company that they're changing their format again. So now more than ever, you have to take care of your own health. So this is a great opportunity for you to learn a lot, but also to interact. So if you have any questions, type in whatever platform you're on, type in your question, and I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. John's going to then read me your questions. I'm going to talk for another 24 minutes, and then I'll answer the questions again. So you're not going to get this opportunity pretty much anywhere else that I know of to get those healthcare questions answered. So again, it's very simple. Type in your platform. So I am ready to start whenever you are, John. All right, here we go. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with me today. Today, we're going to talk about surprisingly bad foods that can raise your cholesterol level. Most people think meat, eggs. You're right. But there's a lot of other foods that you're eating that can raise your cholesterol. The number one medication patients come to see me with is high blood pressure. They're on high blood pressure medication. The number two medication they're on is either diabetes or cholesterol meds. And every single time, and I've been doing this for 40 years now, I ask the patient, did the doctor or the healthcare provider give you any information on what you can do to help naturally lower your cholesterol? 100% of the time, 40 years now, the answer is no. Now, they may say, oh, cut back on your bacon or something basic like that, but not actually a protocol. So for 100% of you out there, high cholesterol medications, this one's for you, as Barry Manilow once said. So let's talk about surprising foods that you really want to avoid. The first one, which is the most surprising, I think, to a lot of you, is going to be coffee. Now, fear not. I know 85% of you just got mad at me because you drink coffee every day. Morning coffee might give your cholesterol an unwanted jolt, just like it does your brain. If you use a French press or Turkish coffee, it lets through a chemical. It's called cafestol. And cafestol can actually raise your bad cholesterol levels. Espresso does the same thing. You don't drink as much. So if you're using a French press, probably not a good idea. Now, if you use a filter, the filter is going to catch the chemical, and it doesn't raise the cholesterol. Now, let's talk about filters and coffee. I'm not a fan of coffee. It's one of what I call my 7 deadly sins. But if you're going to drink coffee, because I'm also a realist, and I know I got to negotiate a lot when it comes to people's health care, I want you to drink organic coffee only. And the reason is that it is probably one of the most, if not the most sprayed food that you're eating. When I say sprayed with chemicals. And one of the things that happens is coffee, when it is stored for a long time, which oftentimes it is, grows fungus on it. So they use a fungicide. Now, caffeine is a poison. The reason it's there is if animals eat it, they can die. Like if a caterpillar goes to eat coffee beans, it'll become paralyzed and die. It just blows out their nervous system. So we're doing that to our nervous system on purpose. And I understand you like the rush. I get that. But understand what it's doing to you. It's frying, metaphorically speaking, your nervous system. So if you're going to drink coffee, please do organic only. The other thing is if you do organic decaf, better still, because it has less caffeine, less effect on the nervous system. But if you're going to do coffee, please limit that if you can. And the filter that you're going to use, I want you to use a filter that doesn't have any bleach or dyes in it. Usually they're slightly brown or beige. Because the chlorine from the bleach that's in the white filter can be an issue as well. So I'm going to negotiate with you. Organic only, make sure it's filtered, try to do an undyed or unchemically treated filter. Now, you're thinking to yourself, I can't give up coffee, you're insane. You are one of those crazy doctors who actually cares about my health. Yeah, I am. I'm going to take that title. Now, if you're tired, you have to figure out why you're tired. Now, I know we're talking about cholesterol today, but I'm not going to talk about coffee. If you go to my website, drjoe.com, and type the word coffee in the search bar, I did a whole hour show, I forget how long it was, on coffee. And we talk about the pros and the cons, but more importantly, we talk about what to do to get energy. First thing is you're probably dehydrated, so drink more water. Number 2, Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source are like godsends when it comes to giving the body the nutrients that it needs to function more efficiently. Nitric oxide, Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support. I take that every day. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation to your heart, your brain, your sex organs, but it gives you lots of energy. Now, don't take nitric oxide if you have low blood pressure. Only take it if you have high or normal blood pressure. I take it every day. I have normal blood pressure. I'm not taking it because I have high blood pressure, although I think everyone who's on high blood pressure probably should. It works wonders to just give me clarity of thought, energy, and also when we have a erectile dysfunction protocol that we use for men, and that's part of the protocol is get them on nitric oxide if we can. So nitric oxide and B-complex. Dr. Joe's B-complex. B vitamins give you energy. So water, Super Greens, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B-complex, adrenal support, those 5, I think it was, supplements, really is going to give you the energy that your body needs to function normally without artificially stimulating you like caffeine. So you can get it the right way, you can get it the wrong way. And the funny part about it is that if you're drinking fancy coffees at these fancy coffee shops, it's probably cheaper to take all those supplements than it is to drink the coffee. And you're getting benefits from it, not downside from it. So, Super Green Essential Source, nitric oxide, B-complex, adrenal support. And boy, let me tell you, start drinking water with that and you'll be buzzing. You'll thank me for that. And men, you'll also thank me for that too. All right, so we're talking today about surprising foods that are bad for your cholesterol level, because again, the number 2 medication I see patients taking is cholesterol meds. Now, let me back up a little bit about cholesterol meds. Statin drugs work by affecting an enzyme in your liver, a series of enzymes actually, it's a chain that occurs, that produces cholesterol in your liver. And it shuts down, it blocks one of the steps in the enzyme production, and so you don't produce as much cholesterol. Works great, really does, lowers your cholesterol. However, that same chain of enzymes or enzyme reaction that occurs also produces something called coenzyme Q10. And CoQ10 is necessary to make the mitochondria in the cell work more efficiently. And I am seeing so much research out there on mitochondrial function now, because that's the part of the cell that generates electricity. So the more and more research I'm seeing, the more excited I get. Let's take care of those mitochondria. And if you don't have enough CoQ10, the mitochondria don't produce electricity, and you become extremely tired. So if you're taking statin drugs, many folks are drinking coffee to try to give them energy. If you take statin drugs, I cannot tell you not to take them. That's not my job. You got to talk to your primary doctor, whoever prescribed them for you. If you take statin drugs, I want you to take CoQ10 as a supplement. I don't have that as a supplement. It's not on my website. You can go get it somewhere else. But CoQ10 is vital if you're taking statin drugs. I think it should be the law. Now, I am coming out with a supplement for that soon, but right now I don't have it. So CoQ10, if you're taking statin drugs, absolutely positively. I remember years ago I did a show on this, probably 15, 20 years ago. And a friend of mine was dating a pharmacist. And he called me up. He says, man, my girlfriend's mad at you. I said, why? He said, you don't know what you're talking about. She's never heard of this before. And this is research. It was just coming out at the time. And I said, have her look it up. And if I'm wrong, I will retract my statement. And a couple of days later, he calls me up. He says, I think my girlfriend's in love with you. I said, what do you mean? He goes, she looked this up. She had never heard this before. She got so excited. And now every time she fills a prescription for statin drugs, she says, go over there and get some CoQ10 as well. He says, she thinks you're the smartest guy in the world. I said, well, she can still say your girlfriend. I don't want to steal her from you. And just because you don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's one of the things I find a lot with social media. I post something and somebody will say, well, that's not true. And I say, yes, it is. And here's my research. Oh, well, I'd never heard it before. Just because you don't know it exists doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's why I try to research every day. And I still learn new things every day. I've been doing this for 40 years. I learn new things. So I don't expect you to know all this. But if you have questions, you can send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your questions for you. Another thing you can do to help lower your cholesterol, not raise your cholesterol, I should say, is be careful when you get takeout food. And the easiest one to alter this on is going to be Asian food, Thai, Chinese, Japanese. If they put chicken or beef in there, ask them to put tofu in. Now, if you've never had tofu, you'll like it. There's nothing offensive about tofu. It's pretty bland. It takes whatever flavors you put on it, it tastes like it. But I want you to start making little decisions to cut back on the animal products and just switch it out with tofu. And Asian restaurants almost always have tofu. Most people that I introduce it to, they love it. and they'd rather eat it more than the meat, the chicken or the beef. It's going to be less expensive, and it's going to be a lot better for you. It's not going to raise those cholesterol levels. So that's a real simple swap. Now, if you do Thai food, and I like Thai food, I want you to say no fish sauce, because fish sauce has something in it called monosodium glutamate. And monosodium glutamate, or glutamic acid, is the bad part of that, is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to and can literally burn out your brain cells. And so too much glutamic acid, very dangerous. If you have a traumatic brain injury, I say have because it never goes away. If you ever had a concussion, if you're ever in a car accident, your head snapped back and forth. I was hit by a car when I was 10. I was dead on the side of the road. And when they put me in the ambulance, I moved, so I wasn't dead. Severe traumatic brain injury, because I was unconscious for days. You always have a traumatic brain injury. I'm board certified in traumatic brain injury. I'm certified in traumatic brain injury. And one of the things they don't teach is what to do nutritionally for TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. And when you have an injury to the brain, it releases glutamic acid, just like monosodium glutamate. So if you add extra glutamic acid to the brain, like me, if I eat MSG, I get a blazing headache. And so cut out the monosodium glutamate, folks. Please, I'm begging you. There's enough of it in so many other foods. It's called autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable proteins. Sometimes it's called natural flavors. These are all monosodium glutamate, or foods high in glutamic acid. So please limit your glutamic acid. So with Thai food, it's the easiest one to say no fish sauce. Because they'll say, we don't add MSG, but we add fish sauce. Well, fish sauce has MSG in it. Most Asian restaurants anymore don't use MSG. They'll even say no MSG added is the key word, because it's in their sauces. It's in the soy sauce. It's in the other, the fish sauce, not the fish sauce, the oyster sauces. So please say no MSG and no fish sauce. Very important. It doesn't change the flavor hardly at all. In fact, most people like it better. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about foods that are surprisingly bad for your cholesterol and then what to do about it. Granola, health food, right? Right? The granola kids from the 60s. Many times they'll use bad fats. And I'm going to do a whole show on omega-6 fatty acids. I've got it lined up. It's in my queue. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. But probably the worst additive you can put in your food is going to be omega-6 fatty acids, vegetable oils. Canola, corn, soy, cottonseed. These are worse than sugar, so bad for the cells, for the mitochondria. They oxidize. It can take up to 2 years to get these oils out of your system. So if you see something that says vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, canola oil, cottonseed, please just don't eat it. Sometimes it's tempting, and even it could be vegan. Doesn't mean it's good for you. So I really want you to avoid those. So granola can have a lot of bad fats in them, and the bad fats are the polyunsaturated fats. Because years ago, they said, wait a minute, saturated fats like meat, dairy products, that's bad for you. So what if we did polyunsaturated fats? Even more than unsaturated fats, they're polyunsaturated fats. Actually worse. Well, maybe just as bad. I'm going to say worse. So be careful. Granola can be loaded with sugar, loaded with chemicals. If they use oats in it, many times oats in modern times are sprayed with something called glyphosate, which is a weed killer. And so you're getting glyphosate in your body. If you're going to eat oats, I'm going to recommend steel-cut organic oats only. The other ones, not as good, because you do run the risk of the toxicity and the fats in there, the bad fats. So granola may not be the best choice because many times it's just loaded with sugar too. So just be careful with that. It really isn't a health food, unfortunately. Shrimp. I know my mother used to say fish is brain food. Eat fish. I remember she used to make me eat mackerel. My father would catch mackerel off the coast of Long Island and bring them home. And mackerel is one of the worst fish in the world. It's so fishy. And she would make me eat one bite every time he'd go fishing. And I still have childhood trauma. I can still taste it. Oh, gosh, just thinking about it is horrible. Fish many times are loaded with mercury. And I'm not a fan of mercury because mercury is bad for you, obviously, affects the brain. But shrimp especially can really raise your cholesterol levels. If you're going to eat shrimp, and I wish you wouldn't, and any shellfish really, shrimp, lobster, I wish you would eat wild-caught only, because regular farm-raised are not a good idea. Wild-caught is a much better choice. So wild-caught fish is going to be a better choice than non-wild-caught fish. Smaller fish, the better. If you eat big fish like tuna, mackerel, the fattier the fish, the longer they've been alive, the more cholesterol collects in their body, and that becomes an issue. So big fat fish, not a good idea. Even salmon. I know people love their salmon, high in omega-3s. If you cook the salmon, you destroy a lot of the omega-3 fatty acids. That's an irony. If you're going to eat salmon, make sure it's wild caught. If you're going to eat any fish, make sure it's wild caught. But understand, when you cook it, heat destroys omega-3 fatty acids, and that's one of the reasons people eat fish. Shrimp, one of the worst. When Moses wrote Leviticus, way back when, Moses said, don't eat shellfish. And the water was a lot cleaner. We didn't have mercury toxicity. And he still said don't eat shellfish because they're filters. They're bottom feeders. And they're loaded with toxins. So shrimp, lobster, crabs, oysters. I used to eat them. Not good for you. In fact, of the fish, those are the worst. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. What we're talking about today are the worst, surprisingly bad foods that'll raise your cholesterol level. And I'm giving you options because I'm a realist. I understand you're not going to do everything. Most of you are not going to do everything I say the first time you hear me. Now, I've had people, listening to me for 40 years now. I've been lecturing for over 40 years now. And many people say, Doc, I had to hear it 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, and finally it clicked. And when I listened to you, you were right. Of course I'm right. I have no reason to lie to you. So if you have health issues, I'd like to be your doctor. So who would be a good candidate to come see us? In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Number one reason we see patients is pain. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica. Chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain. So if you're serious about wanting to get well, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. Or call us. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, we've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. The nutrition evaluation alone is $200. The x-rays alone are more than $299. So we're doing this to find out if you're a candidate for our treatment. And if you are, we'll say, yes, you are. This is what we recommend. What you decide to do at that point, totally up to you. If you're not a candidate for our treatment, we have a list of doctors we can refer you to. Because navigating the healthcare system is insane. I have trouble doing it, and I'm really good at this stuff. So I want to be the captain of your ship. I want to navigate you through this healthcare maze that we have out there and hopefully give you some better choices and get you to the right doctor a lot faster, save you a ton of money, and hopefully get to the cause quicker than just waiting, because the longer we wait on anything, the harder it is to fix. So just make an appointment to see us, Dr. Joe, drjoe.com. We accept most insurances. When you call, we'll give you all that information. So drjoe.com. And all the supplements we talk about, Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, of course, the minimum supplements everybody should be taking every day. If you're not taking it, shame on you. Omega-3 fatty acids, almost everyone is deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. B vitamins, we pee them out every day. If you don't replace them, you're going to be deficient. Nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels, increases circulation to the brain, the heart, the sex organs, gives you energy, clarity of thought. Don't take it if you have low blood pressure, but high and normal blood pressure patients, great. It's my third favorite supplement, nitric oxide. And so I don't believe that supplements are a luxury. I believe supplements are a necessity if your goal is to obtain and maintain good health. I was at a party the other day with a bunch of friends. Some of us have been friends 30, 40 years now. And it's funny, everybody that talked to me, 100% of the people, I was there for 4 hours, mentioned something about a health problem that they have. Neck pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, erectile dysfunction, prostate swelling, headaches, Agent Orange toxicity, liver issues. I spent 4 hours doing coaching. So everybody's going to have health problems. Many times you don't know where to go. I want to be that person. So go to my website, drjoe.com. You can also send me questions through the website, drjoe.com. Happy to talk to them for you. Other foods that are surprisingly bad for your cholesterol. How about Mexican food? Some restaurants, not as many anymore, but early on, they would put lard in their beans. You're thinking, well, Dr. Joe, I'm not eating the beef, which is high in cholesterol. I'm not eating the chicken, high in cholesterol, shrimp, high in cholesterol. I'm going to eat the beans. Well, many times they would season it with lard. Most restaurants don't do that anymore, so that's the good news. But you could always ask, are your beans vegan? Do they have lard in them? But many times they'll use lard in their flour tortillas as well. And lard is not good. It's fat. It's animal fat. It's beef fat. And that can raise your cholesterol as well. So if you're going to do a tortilla, the corn is going to be the better choice. But don't fry it. Because when they fry it in omega-6 fatty acids, usually something cheap like a peanut or a corn oil, and that can raise your cholesterol levels as well as affecting the mitochondria and having adverse effects. So if you're going to do Mexican food, make sure the beans are vegan. Sometimes if the refrieds have lard in them because it makes it creamy, the black beans won't have the lard in them, so you may have to do black beans instead, which is fine. What I usually do is I try to get a bowl. Now, before bowls were cool, I was making bowls. Bowls are now everywhere, right? But I would get black beans, I'd get guacamole, I'd get the lettuce, the pico de gallo, the salsa, and I'd kind of mix that together and eat it. Now, you got to be careful because a lot of times they'll slip little things in there like sour cream. Of course, I don't do sour cream. The rice, even the rice in Mexican restaurants many times has chicken broth in it. And chicken broth many times has monosodium glutamate, and that's glutamic acid, which can fry up your brain. So just start making better choices. And if you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in the search bar, so what can I eat? And I did a lecture, it's probably a couple years ago. I'm probably ready to update it soon. But it'll give you ideas on what to eat. And it's so easy and so inexpensive and so much more tasty than anything you're doing right now. You just don't know it exists. It's like when I take people for Ethiopian food, which is my favorite cuisine. I take people for Ethiopian food, and you eat with your hands, and they've got this bread called injera. It's made with teff, which is a seed, and just spectacular. I've never taken anyone for Ethiopian food who didn't fall in love with it. And they always say the same thing. I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know. I thought Ethiopian, they ate dirt in Ethiopia. No, they've got a really amazing, spectacular cuisine. Now, they don't use the best oils. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. But it's a cool choice. Something new, something different. And probably the least expensive cuisine out there, which is kind of cool. Get the veggie plate. Usually the veggie platter is enough for 2 people, just so you know. So get 1 platter. If you want to add, order more. But usually 1 veggie platter at an Ethiopian restaurant is enough for 2. So that's a better choice. But Mexican can be sneaky. They throw it in there. Organ meats, I'm not sure if I have to tell you that. Nose to tail, they call it. That's kind of becoming trendy. Liver, kidneys, sweetbreads, which is, the guts, very high in cholesterol. Beef liver is high in iron, but that iron, it comes at a very high cost. The liver is the filter of the body. It filters out the viruses, germs, bacteria, pesticides, chemicals, waste products, broken down urine, dead cells. And so liver is probably one of the worst things you could possibly eat. Now, that being said, when I was a kid, I used to like eating liver. Chicken liver and onions, one of my favorite foods. I like calf liver. I like chicken liver better. But the world was different then. We didn't have steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, genetically modified food, glyphosate. The cows were fed grass as opposed to be fed in soybeans and corn, which raises their omega-6 levels, drops their omega-3 levels. So it was a different world. But had I known then what I know now, I wouldn't have eaten it either. But I was a kid. My grandmother was German, and we were very poor, so we ate whatever was there. So organ meat's not really a good choice. I really want you to stay away from that because you're eating the filter. The kidneys and the liver, what are they? They're the filters in the body. They filter out all the junk, and then you're eating it. There's some benefit to it, but there's no benefit in it that you couldn't get from eating cherries, red beans. So all the benefit without the downside, that's what I always try to do in everything in my life. Everything I do, I try to do the most effective, least expensive, and what's going to give me the benefits without the downside. It's a really easy way to live life. And you make decisions. Not every decision is going to be perfect, but I always want you to think, what's the best choice? It's like for back pain. Chiropractic is the best choice in a majority of the cases. Not everyone. It's a majority of the cases. Go to a chiropractor. Most effective, least expensive. It's pretty simple. When it comes to food, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds will be your best choice. There's other foods out there. There's rice and beans and lentils and split peas. But the simpler you go, the easier it's going to be in life. And you're probably going to end up with a whole lot more money in your pocket. Hey, folks, I got to go to break right now. If you have any questions, send it to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. I really want to be your doctor. After 40 years of doing this, I wake up every day checking my website to see how many questions we have. And I get real excited about it. But most important thing you can do is make an appointment to come see us. We can do it virtually as well. We can do it virtually or in person. And let's find out what we can do to try to get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. If you like what you hear, follow me on social media. It's Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. It's the Dr. Joe Esposito on Facebook. And you're going to get 1-minute health tips every single day. It's a great way. And the website, drjoe.com. First, folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. That goes so fast. I've got so much to talk about. You have questions?
I've heard that magnesium is the most important mineral in the body. Is that true?
Reminds me of a joke I can't say on the air. Magnesium is an extremely important mineral, but they all work together. So you can't just take one and say that's the most important. Now, with magnesium, there's different types of magnesium. I want to say there's 8. I have to look that one up. I can't remember exactly. So it depends what you're taking it for. The best thing to do if you take a magnesium, it's a magnesium that has multiple types of magnesium in it. So the answer is yes, most people are deficient in it, and yes, it's very important. But if you take, certain types of magnesium give you diarrhea. Certain type of magnesium will help you go to sleep. So a blend of the magnesium is going to be your best choice.
Follow-up, is magnesium glycinate safe to take every morning?
Yes. That's an easy one. I like the yes-no questions. Yeah. There's magnesium citrate. Magnesium citrate will give you diarrhea if you take too much. So you'll know if you took too much.
Should I be on an NAD booster?
I take glutathione every day. Glutathione helps the liver work more efficiently. That's a supplement I take. So if you want to take an NAD booster, I don't see any problem with it. But you can take a lot of different supplements. There are some companies that have 200, 300, 400 different types of supplements in their catalog. All of them are good. So if you have a healthy body, if you're taking super greens and essential source and glutathione, the chances are you don't need the NAD booster. But if you want to take it, it's not going to hurt you. So.
Are canned peaches okay?
Depends. If they're loaded with sugar, no. Now, if you canned them yourself, like in a jar, glass jar is probably going to be fine. If you don't add sugar to it, it should be fine. Absolutely. But if they're loaded with sugar and heavy syrups, then I'd probably say no.
Would it be better to cook hamburgers in the oven instead of on the grill?
Yes. Now, that being said, that's not permission to eat hamburgers. If you're asking for a better way, the answer is yes. Now, one of the problems with ground beef is that they grind up a bunch of different cow carcasses together. So if one cow is sick, many times it spreads to the whole group of ground beef. Now, my first job ever, 11 years old, I worked for a butcher named Frank, and I was the delivery boy. I made $21 a week. He paid me in dollar bills at the end of the week, and I got tips. I was 11 years old. And I had a bicycle, and I bicycled my butt all around town, the towns around town, and he would grind up his own beef. He'd cut the meat in front of the people, and then he'd say, I'm going to make ground beef, and he'd grind it in front of them. That was a much better choice. But then one day, I caught Frank, and he took all the scraps and the fat and everything, and he put it next to the grinder. And he would take the meat. This guy was a magician. He'd grab the meat that he said, look at this beautiful cut of meat I just cut for you. And he cut it right in front of him. And as he's putting it into the grinder, he'd grab some of this fat and grizzle and everything and throw it in there and mix it. So he was a thief. He's probably dead now, so I can say it. But he was a thief. Now, if this guy, small mom and pop shop, was doing this, I'm not trusting all the big companies either. So if you're going to do ground beef, I recommend organic only. But yeah, in the oven would be a better choice. Although it's not a good choice, it's a better choice. So, but anytime you do animal products, please do organic only. I hadn't thought about Frank in years.
That is all.
All right, good. All right, let's do part 2. I still picture my green bike with the banana seat and a big basket. You got to put a lot of stuff in there. Boy, sometimes you get 25, 30-cent tips. Sometimes you get $1. Woo-hoo! But 11 years old, at that time, I was swimming in the bucks, man. Me and Eddie Andexler. He'd work one week, I'd work the other week. All right. Sorry about that. Going down memory lane there. Ready? Hey, folks. Dr. Joe Esposito here. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with us, I'm glad you did. Because we're talking today a really important topic. Foods that are surprisingly bad for your cholesterol. And the number one medication patients come to see me for is high blood pressure. Is high blood pressure. And we get people on a good diet. We get them on a supplement called nitric oxide, which opens up the blood vessels. And many times, we're able to reduce or eliminate their need for medication. Now, I cannot take you off medication. I'm not a prescribing doctor. So you have to go to your prescribing doctor and get that taken care of. The other thing with high blood pressure, going down a rabbit hole, is many times related to your digestive system. The nerves that control your stomach or your digestive system are called the vagus nerves. And the vagus nerve controls your digestive system, also helps control some of your heart. So if you have an upset stomach, many times acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, Crohn's, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac, many times the stomach pushes up into the diaphragm. And when the stomach pushes up into the diaphragm, we can adjust or gently pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. Not only does it oftentimes fix your acid reflux, but it stimulates a part of the nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system slows you down. Sympathetic nervous system speeds you up. Right now, I'm in the sympathetic mode. I'm thinking, I'm talking, I'm processing, I'm ready to go to my next thought. I want to make sure I cover as much as I can in a short amount of time. So I'm in the sympathetic mode, high speed. Parasympathetic mode is rest, sex, going to the bathroom, sleep. That's parasympathetic. But if the sympathetic and the parasympathetics are all out of whack, you may have high blood pressure because of it. So many times when we fix the digestive system and get people on nitric oxide supplements, the blood pressure returns to normal. And that's what we want, is normal. So number one medication people come in with is high blood pressure. Number two is either diabetes or cholesterol. So we're talking today about foods that can raise your cholesterol that you never thought about. Now, when I was young, they came out, well, it was already out when I was born, but it became a big craze, and it was something called margarine. And margarine was all the craze. It was cheaper than butter. It looked like butter, tasted like butter. And I remember tasting it as a kid going, it doesn't taste like butter. It just tastes like plastic. But I was taught it tastes like butter, so I thought it was true. And it turns out that one of the worst things you can put in your body, worse than butter, is margarine. It's a hydrogenated oil. It's high in omega-6 fatty acids. Polyunsaturated fats are oftentimes used in it, like canola, cottonseed, corn oil. And it's really not good for you. Because, I'm going to do a whole show in a couple of weeks on omega-6 fatty acids and margarines, for example. But I'll tell you a little story. First got on the radio, I don't know, well over a decade ago. I was doing a show, and I talked about how margarine is worse for your heart than butter. And I was talking, my mom was alive at the time, and I spoke with my mom, and she said, and I told her about it, and she listened to the show. And a couple of weeks later, there was a segment on CNN, and it said, the new high risk for heart disease, margarine, or something along those lines. And she calls me up, and she says, Joseph, she called me Joseph. She said, Joseph, I'm not sure if you're a nut or a prophet. I haven't quite figured that out yet. She says, you seem to talk about things, and then months or years later, it becomes mainstream. And she goes, and I remember when you first started doing this stuff, I thought you were crazy, but then time after time after time, you were right. And I said, well, Mom, I'm probably a little bit of a nut, a little bit of a prophet. I'm not sure which one it is. But basically what I do is I read the research. It's not hard. You just have to take a lot of time to do it. I read the research, and I say, okay, what is the research showing? What are the trends toward? And what can we do to fix it? That's the missing link that most doctors are missing. What can we do to fix it? And we're seeing more and more doctors getting frustrated with medicine because you guaranteed a lot of money. If you work in a hospital, you make a very good profit. But are you really helping people? And a lot of doctors have come to me and said, we're not helping a lot of people. We're keeping you on medication and never coming off medications. Joe, what can I do? I want to be more like you. I want to learn more about this stuff. And so a lot of them send their patients to us, and we work with them. Now, most people listen. Some people don't. And that's always up to you. Whatever you decide to do is up to you. I can only give you information. If you want to put it in place, do it. What I challenge all my patients is this. Do what I say, and if you're not a patient, if you're just a listener, do what I say for 60 days. If I'm wrong, so what? I'm wrong. Blew it. I lied to you. But if I'm right, which of course I am, then you can say, all right, I get it now. I understand it, and I'm willing to, buy into it, so to speak. I'm willing to buy into this lifestyle. But you got to give it a shot. And the nice part is you can go right back to where you were in 60 days. And you make that decision at that point. But give me a shot. And let me see if I'm right or not. I'm always right when it comes to that anyway. So if you have any questions, you can always send them through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, and I'm happy to answer your questions. In fact, I enjoy answering your questions. So we're talking today about foods that are worse surprising foods that are bad for your bad for your cholesterol. So please stay away from the margarines, the fake butters. Now, they have vegan butters out there, made with olive oil, made with coconut oil. They still have polyunsaturated fats in them. They're not healthy. They're just a little better. And many times when it comes to nutrition, I want you to make the better choice. It's not a good choice. It's a better choice. If I'm going to have a hamburger, should I have organic or non-organic? Well, organic would be a better choice. It's not the best choice. Grilled mushroom would be a better choice, but it's a better choice. And so you don't have to do everything I say all the time, although I do, because if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. I got to make a t-shirt like that. If you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. Because I've researched this for 40 years. And if there was a better way to take care of myself, I would be doing it. Sometimes you need medicine. Sometimes you need drugs. Sometimes you need surgery. But I always want to go through the least invasive, most effective, least expensive treatment first, and then work my way, if you want to say up, sideways, whatever you want to other treatments if necessary. Many times people work out because they're trying to be healthy, and they hurt their back, and they try to work through the pain. Well, what you're doing there is you're building up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you building up strong muscles around straight bones. Don't stop working out. Just put everything back in place so you get a better result. Oh, well, that makes sense. I love when a patient says that. That makes sense. Because that's my goal. I want this to make sense to you. Why are we doing all this? There's rationale behind this. There's logic. And it's very inexpensive, very effective in most cases. And so whether it's nutrition, chiropractic, digestion, traumatic brain injuries. I was talking to somebody the other day. That's right. I was at this party. And he has Agent Orange syndrome, and he has the shakes from it. His hand can't stop shaking. I said, what'd they recommend? He said, well, they recommended like a dopamine supplement, a drug. And I said, did you know that fava beans and velvet beans have as much dopamine as most medications? And he looked at me. He says, I never knew that. I said, yeah. Look up velvet beans and fava beans for Parkinson's or tremors. So eat a serving of fava beans every day. A lot cheaper. Or velvet beans, a lot cheaper. And you get the same amount and many times it works better than the medication, some studies show. I didn't know that. Yeah. Do you know monosodium glutamate can make the shakes worse? No. How about an artificial sweetener? I know. So that's what I try to do is I try to filter out all this information that's out there and make it real easy for you to do. So we're talking today, if you're just tuning in, about foods that are surprisingly bad for you if you have high cholesterol. And I'm Italian, half Italian. And one of the things that I grew up with was you always had pasta at every meal. We called it macaroni. We didn't call it pasta back then. Everything was macaroni. What kind of macaroni you want? You want fusilli, you want penne, you want spaghetti. So everything was macaroni. So we didn't call it, I became an adult, I didn't know what pasta was. We never heard that word before. So we had macaroni at every meal, but we had small dishes of it. It wasn't like we had this piled on thing with meatballs on top and meat sauces. We never had meat sauce, like ground up meat sauce, never had that because we were poor. So my grandmother and then my father and mother would take a piece of meat, whatever that was, and cook it and then make sauce around it. So it wasn't mixed in with it. It was actually just a piece. And then you'd have a little piece of meat, a little bowl of pasta. Then you'd always have a side dish of vegetables or beans. Braciole was a type of meat they'd use, spare ribs. But then you'd have escarole. Then you'd have broccoli rabe. Then you'd have a salad. So most of the meal was vegetables and then fruit for dessert. It wasn't the meat and a little bit of pasta. Now we're just sucking down this pasta like crazy. All you can eat. One to take home for $6. Oh, my God, what a deal. I get all this pasta with cream sauce on it for $6. That's a deal. No, it's not. It's very expensive and expensive if you do it that way. So if you're going to do pasta, I'm going to recommend you do gluten-free. They have lentil pasta. They have chickpea pasta. Does it taste like wheat? Similar. But it's a much better choice because the gluten in America, the wheat in America, is oftentimes sprayed with glyphosate, weed killer. And so many people don't have reactions to wheat when they're in Europe, but they have it here in America. So it's theorized. It's not necessarily the wheat, it's the weed killer. that's on it. That's causing the adverse reactions. It could be the sinus problems, the allergies, the fatigue, the bloating, the gas, the diarrhea, the constipation. But that being said, our wheat here in America has been hybridized. What I mean by hybridized is they've taken wheat and they've altered, not genetically modified, altered it so it's shorter and grows more wheat kernels and less stalk, higher levels of protein. This is not good protein. It's gluten, gliadin and glutenin. And when you heat it, it becomes gluten. Not the best protein for you. So some people can eat European pastas, not have a problem, but eat American pastas, it's an issue. So here in America, I would recommend gluten-free, lentil, chickpea. Those are rice. Those are better choices. Tinkiata, I know it's a funny name, Tinkiata. That's probably the best gluten-free pasta I've ever had. I have no affiliation with them. I just like their pasta. But don't eat so much because it's still like eating sugar. And when sugar gets into the body, it's an acid. It can irritate your artery walls. The artery walls become inflamed. The body produces cholesterol to lay down on the scratching or the inflammation of the artery wall, and that becomes an issue. So too much sugar can actually cause hardening of the arteries. So please be careful with that. I like pasta. I don't eat a lot of it just because I know it's like eating sugar. Another thing that can be bad for you is energy bars. They're essentially candy bars. It's really good marketing. You know, to have a picture of a guy climbing a mountain or a picture out in a field and, I'm going to eat it. Great type names. Some of them are just brilliant names. But they really are just sugar bars is what it boils down to. Just because it's marketed as an energy bar or health bar. Read the ingredients. You're supposed to have about 40 grams of carbohydrates a day. Many of those have more than that in just one bar. So don't be fooled by that stuff. It's a lot of sugar. Sometimes they use saturated fats in there. So I don't like it. Years ago, when I went to college, I was 19. My friend Frank was 15 years older than me. So he was in his 30s maybe. And he was all into meditation. He studied with Guru Maharishi Hashish Yogi. He was a certified trainer for meditation. And he introduced me to something called ghee. Ghee. Now, what he did is he'd take butter and he'd boil it for a while and keep scraping the foam off the top. And what was done is called clarified butter. And that means it still has saturated fat and cholesterol. So people ask me, what about ghee? I'm not a fan. It's probably better than butter. It has the flavor of butter and it has a lot of the waste products and toxins boiled out. It's a staple in Indian cooking, so if you're going to want to eat vegan, you got to make sure they don't use ghee in there. They say, oh, yeah, it's vegetarian. Vegetarian and vegan are two different things. Vegetarian could be butter, cheese, yogurt, ice cream. Vegan would be no animal products. So just be careful with ghee. I know it's a big buzzword right now, but it's better than butter, but I'm not a fan. If you're going to eat things like duck, which I tried eating duck when I was a kid, it tasted very fatty. But very, very high in cholesterol. And if you're going to eat duck liver like foie gras, which I don't understand why you would, but that's very high in cholesterol as well. And dairy products, of course, butter, cheese, yogurt, eggs. Eggs aren't dairy products. Ice cream, just be careful. Now, with eggs, many studies done. If you feed somebody eggs, their cholesterol goes up. Take them away from eggs, cholesterol goes down. If you're going to eat eggs, I'm going to recommend organic only, because you don't have the steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides. The chickens are fed grains and not fed corn and soy, which raises their omega-6 fatty acid levels, lowers their omega-3 fatty acids. So if you're going to eat eggs, organic only. Any type of egg. I don't care if it's chicken, duck, pigeon, whatever you're going to eat. I don't know. Just make sure that it's organic. Now, I choose not to eat any animal products. I haven't had an animal product in about 39 years. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to look at the research, listen to my shows. You decide what you want to do. If there was a better way to do this, I would do it. If there was a better way to eat, I would eat that way. If there was something better for my spine than chiropractic care, I would do whatever it is. Maybe it's injections, maybe it's surgery, maybe it's physical therapy. All of those have their place. But I know chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. And with my injuries, my football injuries, hockey, street fights, car accidents, dying in a car accident, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be able to share all this information with you if it wasn't for chiropractic care that has maintained my spine. So if you want to make an appointment to come see us, if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, sciatica, muscle weakness, stop suffering needlessly. Many of you are suffering needlessly. So if you want to make an appointment, just go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. That's the Atlanta area. If you want to do a virtual appointment, that's okay too. But normally the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, we've reduced that to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Nutrition alone is $200. The x-rays alone are more than that. Why, people ask, why do I do this? Because I want to find out what your problem is and then help you decide what is going to be the best course of treatment for you. Maybe it's chiropractic, maybe it's orthopedist, maybe it's neurologist, maybe it's neurosurgeon, maybe it's physical therapy, maybe it's weight loss control, maybe it's acoustic wave therapy. We have a machine called acoustic wave therapy. Sends really fast impulses into the joint, breaks up scar tissue, increases circulation, recruits stem cells into the area. We've had so many patients being told you have to have your shoulder replaced, your hip replaced, your knee replaced, your foot replaced, your wrist replaced. And after doing the acoustic wave, many times with chiropractic and nutrition, they don't need to have the joint replaced anymore. Wouldn't that be nice to hear that? I love the look on people's face when they go back to their orthopedist and they say, nope, you're okay. Let's not do anything yet. Let's watch this and monitor it. Where a couple of weeks ago they said, no, you have to have it replaced. So try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can always have surgery. There's no downside to getting healthy. It's more effective. It's less expensive. Probably going to make you live longer. Probably make your whole life a lot better. Hopefully increase your energy, your love life. Again, none of these are promises, but this is what I've seen happen on countless occasions. So if you're ready to get well, drjoe.com. Maybe you have digestive problems, acid reflux. We talked about adjusting or pulling the stomach away from the diaphragm for acid reflux. We do nutrition evaluation on every one of our patients. Why? Because I want to help get to the cause of your problem and get you well. So go to my website, drjoe.com. Let's get you set up for an appointment. Let's find out what we need to do. Why not? So, drjoe.com. And by the way, if you're ever in a car accident, if the car's damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. So if you're in a car accident, come see us immediately. You will, I promise you, get called by scammers. Guaranteed. It'll be people, go see this doctor, go see this lawyer. I'm calling from your insurance company. I'm calling from the hospital. It's a scam. I guarantee you it's a scam because nobody's going to call you to go see a doctor or a lawyer. They can't. It's illegal. If they do, it's illegal. So come to me. If I'm not near you, if we don't have an office near you, I'll find a doctor near you. I'll find a doctor I know I can trust. We'll find a lawyer we can trust. That's sometimes hard to do. And we're going to do everything we can to try to get you well and keep you well. So drjoe.com. Send me your questions through the website, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media. Again, it's Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. If you don't like it, unfollow me. Sign up for our newsletter. It's on the website. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. Can only offer it to you. If you don't want it, that's fine. We have millions of followers, listeners, past patients, combine everything. We've probably got well over 1 million, probably more than 1 million people. And if you don't like it, don't follow me. There's nothing not to like. That's the nice part. That's how confident I am. So drjoe.com. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service, type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. We post 2 podcasts a week. That's free. I don't know how else to get to you. I don't care how to get whatever information, however I can get it to you, I want to do it. And I really want to be your doctor, drjoe.com. And again, supplements are no longer a luxury, they're a necessity. I have so many people taking these medications, these weight loss medications, and they're not eating, so they're not getting nutrients, and then they go into nutritional deficiency. They're losing weight, but they're going into nutritional deficiency. So at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are 2 powders. I like the mint Super Greens better than the plain, but take a scoop of each, mix it up with coconut milk, almond milk, water if you want to. I like it with the milk. Drink it first thing in the morning. Great way to start your day. And boy, I tell you, I can't imagine not having it every day. I've been taking it for years and years and years now, and boy, does it work. So drjoe.com, the supplements are there. Most people are deficient in vitamin D. If you take vitamin D, make sure it has vitamin K2 with it. B complex, your B vitamins out every day. You got to replace them, folks. And many times enriched ones, they use a synthetic form of B vitamins, like folate, for example, folic acid they use, and you can't convert it. 44% of people can't convert it into the usable form, so even if you're taking it, you're going to be B vitamin deficient, certainly in folate, and many times in B12 as well. They use cyanocobalamin. So, yeah, you want to make sure you take the supplements. And if you have questions about the supplements, send me questions through the website. Happy to put together a protocol for you, drjoe.com. Now, cholesterol, there's high density, low density, very low density lipoproteins. And the cholesterol goes out into the body. That's what we're talking about today, by the way. And it helps form sex hormones, your brain. We see that people who are on statins have a higher risk of Alzheimer's because you need cholesterol. I believe, and this is strictly my opinion, that the cholesterol numbers are too low. You can go a little higher than what's recommended and still be safe. It used to be 300. That was normal. Now it's down like 200. So I'm not too concerned about cholesterol going a little high. What I am concerned about is how much cholesterol is stuck to the artery walls. So the cholesterol floating around in the blood, not that big a deal. Cholesterol stuck to the artery walls, very big deal. So what you want to do is you want to get your homocysteine levels checked. When you get your blood work done, homocysteine determines, the homocysteine really is the thing that scratches the artery walls and causes the cholesterol to be laid down. So you want to always check your homocysteine levels. And if it's high, many times taking Dr. Joe's B complex or a good quality B complex can lower the homocysteine levels. So you have high homocysteine, that causes the body to produce more cholesterol to stick to the artery walls to protect the arteries, and then we give you medication. What if we just lowered the homocysteine levels? Well, there's a novel idea, and that's where B vitamins come in really helpful. And ours are methylated. They're in a form you could use, so that's really a good positive thing to do. Now, again, this is not an end-all, be-all, cure-all for anything. I say that all the time, but this is what I know works the best. And after 40 years in practice, I've missed a half a day of work in 40 years. 40 years in practice, I've seen it work time and time and time again. And the nice part is it's pretty benign. If it doesn't work, there's always more aggressive techniques to use. But let's start out with the most effective, least expensive. Gentlemen, if you have ED, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type the letters ED in the search bar. The little quiz will come up. Take the quiz and send it to me. It comes to me personally. I will then either respond to you via email or a phone call, and let's see if there's some options out there. Again, I'm not saying I have a medication. I'm not saying I have a cure. But I always try to get to the cause of the problem. If you have ED, if you have headaches, if you have numbness, back pain, leg pain, hip pain, digestive issues, these are symptoms. They're telling you something's wrong. You can try to cover them up, which I'm all for. If I have a headache, I want to cover it up, but I also want to find out why. So if you're serious about wanting to get well, go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right now. We can do it virtually or in person. We'd love to see you. We accept most insurances. My staff can tell you more about that. It depends on your policy and insurance companies. I am not a fan. And I'm sure you're not either. I don't know anybody who's a fan of insurance policies. But we have acoustic wave, chiropractic, digestive issues, nutrition, car accidents, sports injuries. Let's get to the cause of your problem and not just treat the symptoms. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. I'm out of time. drjoe.com. I look forward to seeing you or hearing from you very soon. Done. All right. You have questions?
Do you ever go to fast food restaurants? If so, what do you get?
I can't remember the last time I went, but if I go someplace, I'd go to like a Moe's or a Willie's. Moe's is my favorite, by the way. And I'll get the veggie bowl. Again, cheapest thing on the menu. And it's a lot of food. I get it limited rice. You know, I don't like a whole lot of rice anyways, too filling. And they'll usually give you a little more beans then, and guacamole and lettuce and tomato. I like most because they give you guacamole for free. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I like about them. But the flavor is good too. That's probably where I would go if I had to go to a fast food place. Taco Bell has the beans are vegan. I know that. Might be a better choice. I don't get the fried chips or anything because they're one of the worst things in the world. Years and years and years ago, I did have a veggie Whopper. And I peeled the top of the bread off because it has an egg wash on it. I just wanted to try it. It was okay. It wasn't great. Wendy's would have a baked potato. If you go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in "so what can I eat," I kind of cover a little bit about fast food in there. It's a free lecture that I gave. So, what else you got?
What are the best noodles to eat?
Konjac noodles would be the best, but they don't really taste very good. I'm not going to lie to you. They come in a little bag. They have 0 calories in them. It's konjac, which is a root. It's very high in fiber. It's a prebiotic. It's actually very good for you, but they're just shaped like noodles. I'm not even going to call them noodles. So if you're going to eat pastas or noodles, I would recommend gluten-free. So like I said, rice, chickpea, lentil, those would be the better choices. I used to love egg noodles. I'm not going to lie to you. Beef goulash and egg noodles, that was my favorite meal in the world. But it's not good for you. So just because you like it doesn't mean it's good for you. And you can say, I like it, I'm just not going to eat it. I could see a car driving by and say, I like the car, I'm not going to jump in it. So so I would say a gluten-free noodle would probably be, or pasta would be the best choice. So.
Can 16-year-olds take digestive enzymes?
If they have digestive issues, yes. If they don't, no. If you're over 30, everyone should be taking them, in my opinion. But if they have digestive issues, yeah, I would say it's fine. But they are producing enough, so they probably don't need more. So,
is there a healthy type of corn?
If you're going to do corn, it's got to be organic, but most corn has probably been genetically modified through cross-pollination, so there probably isn't a healthy corn. But if you're going to do corn, I got to do organic.
How is homocysteine listed on a blood test result?
It's listed under homocysteine. So, yeah. You got to usually order it. It's usually not part of the standard blood test. So, yeah, you got to just say, I want my homocysteine levels checked. So,
is red cabbage okay?
Yes. It's high in diindolylmethane. Diindolylmethane helps produce testosterone and estrogen and hormones. So, yeah. In fact, our estrogen regulator that we have is diindolylmethane, and diindolylmethane helps prevent testosterone from converting into estrogen. I take estrogen regulator every day because as I'm getting older, my testosterone has a tendency to convert into estrogen, and I don't want that to happen. So it's called an aromatase inhibitor, and the diindolylmethane is just rocking it. And so, yeah, so red cabbage is one of the sources of diindolylmethane.
Can I add honey to super greens?
You can. I'd prefer you use stevia or lohan or monk fruit, but if you want to use honey, that's your call. Yeah. Not the best choice, but a better choice. Yeah.
That is all.
All right, you guys are awesome. I like the mint super greens, by the way. It already has stevia in it. All right, guys, any questions? You know the drill. At drjoe.com. Just send me an email. And hope to see you as patients. If not, we'll see you on your next